Hi, and welcome to my video about a landscaped artist in the Robledo Mountains of southern New Mexico. If you've done as much archaeology as I have, you recognize this scene right away, that this is someone operating a device much like a theodolite. And it makes me think back to when I was just starting in archaeology and wondering what the hell we were doing using alidades when 1,000 years ago people had theodolites. So if you watch my video on the Mesoamerican sextant, you'll see that the Aztec had these really sophisticated astronomical measuring devices with what must have been fairly good optics. And here I think that this device had some sort of optics. Now, I'd already figured out that the Olin glyph of the Aztecs, which is the measurement glyph, was pretty much sort of a horizontal measuring device. And so again, it's much kind of like a theodolite. I had been looking at this area high up on the east side of the Robledo Mountains on these terraces and had noticed that there was rock alignments and cleared areas. So I knew that people had been modifying the surface. I could see grid patterns that I assumed were probably agricultural fields. Could also see that the area kind of created this goofy character. But it wasn't until I looked at it differently and I had started to read these glyphs better that I realized that when you turn it around the other way, you get this scene of an artist's life showing how you go about making this landscape glyphs. And it even includes a figure in a shroud showing his death. So the artist is painting on this grid like you would have to do if you're going to scale it up to the landscape. And to the other side is what I believe to be a slave that's actually putting the color down on the landscape. Before you could do anything, you would have to survey the land and make a contour map. Then you could take that map and draw on it with different colors and figures, and you could use the different ridge lines and arroyos and other features, and if you don't like them, you can carve them out the way you want them. In Mesoamerican iconography, slaves are often shown naked and diminutive, although this figure of a slave is fairly life-size to the others. But I do believe this to be a slave that's applying the pigment onto the landscape. And as I look at the burial shroud, I know that this very guy must be buried somewhere in this area. These are just the main elements of this set of glyphs. There are other figures and pictures here too at different scales. In the next ridge line over, there's been a lot of rock that's been carved out, and there's some piles of red dirt that were being spread out to create these large figures, as well as other more intricate glyphs that are actually carved into the rock here. You can see the curve patterns and the pigment. And at larger scales, again, it creates these amazing pictures. So as I sit here and admire this guy's work, I can't help wonder about his life. He must have been a fairly wealthy person to have this much glyph work in his honor. Artists like this making these glyphs would have probably been a pretty high-ranking person. And then I wonder, what glyphs around here did he actually make? There's some iconography here in this area that I could pick up on and then see in other places to see that, hey, maybe this guy did this work. That would be amazing, but I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. But I think about these things and about this man's life.